Okay, sweet. And you can still hear me? We're good?
Hear you loud and clear, brother.
Perfect. Yeah, man. I really appreciate you doing this. Before we kind of get into things, I just wanted to say I loved your post you posted the other day about how a lot of people tell you this is how I am. These beliefs, these experiences made me who I am. But your response was this is who you learned to be and who you're choosing to be. And I'd love for you to kind of elaborate a bit on that in
Yeah.
terms of how that line of thinking gets in people's ways before we officially introduce you and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it can serve your purpose to a certain point, and it cannot serve your purpose after a certain point, right? Now, like we just discussed previously, you're born in a certain country, I'm born in a certain country. We'll learn some moral values, beliefs, or anything else that brought us where we are right now in the moment. But for something to change, we will need to change certain part of ourselves that are not serving us a purpose anymore. Now, let's break it down first. Why I say this is who you learn to be, because that's the actual truth. When we came into this world, when we were babies, we didn't know anything about money. We didn't know what is wrong and what is right. We didn't know what is relationships. We didn't know what is religion. We didn't know which God exists, which doesn't God exist. We didn't know anything of that. We were just like, in Latin language, you call it tabula rasa, which means empty board. When you become as an empty board, eager to grow, to learn, to expand, and to navigate the world. So just observe a baby, right? They're just consistently looking something, learning something, excited for life. They're always with a smile on their face, unless they have some physical difficulties in their stomach, or maybe they need to eat, they make some noise. The moment when they wipe your ass and or they feed you, you put a smile on your face again, and then you go into a restful state of mind. And then we started learning, our parents, our environment, grandparents, religion, school, social conditioning. We start getting conditioned. We start being taught what is wrong and what is right, based on our environment's beliefs and norms. Then we start learning what this means, what this doesn't mean. There are also different ways of meaning-making process that is completely different if you are in Canada. It's completely different if you're in Macedonia. It's completely different if you're in Spain. It's completely different if you're in Japan or if you are in Thailand, where you're at right now in the moment. So everyone has a different view of the world. So here is the thing. Most of the people, while we're learning, because that's the only experience that we had, we kind of identify our true self with that learnings, and we accept them. 95% of them have been accepted throughout our age of 0 to 7 years old, when the frontal cortex wasn't developed, the conscious mind was not developed a lot, so we are just absorbing knowledge. And then after, we were also from the environment started deciding what is true, what is not true, what is good, what is bad, and everything that comes with that part. So still, it is a learning, or better term said, it is a conditioning. We have been conditioned that way. What that means is a sum total of attitudes, values, beliefs that shape our model of the world. But that model of the world, if you remember what I said, that tabula rasa or empty board, it's based on our own experiences. We draw there, and then we identify with that part. This is who am I? Well, this is who you learn to be. If it serves your purpose at this moment, go ahead. If some parts doesn't serve your purpose in a certain moment, unlearn and install a different learning that will going to serve you a better purpose for increasing your standards or bettering your life in general, any area of life. Is it going to be business? Is it going to be a relationship? Is it going to be spirituality? Is it going to be any area of our lives?
So how do you start to break out of that in terms of, if this is all you know and you can't see what you can't see, how do you start to poke holes in that to even know that there's more out there?
The first approach, the approach needs to change. Most of the people get stuck because they live. Let's break it down like this. There is 4 quadrants of learning stages. 4 stages of learning quadrants. The first quadrant is when we are unconsciously incompetent, and the statement behind that is, I don't know what I don't know. And then we become familiar of a certain subject. I don't know. Let's say the subject is NLP, right? From my world, something. NLP. And you heard about that. You didn't know that NLP existed, but then you heard, and then you go in the second quadrant, which is conscious incompetence, when now the statement behind is, I know what I don't know. And then you start studying, learning about that subject, getting to it, and then you gain a certain knowledge, you gain a certain insights, you gain a certain, you gain a certain database of that subject, and then you go into the third quadrant, which is I know what I know, or conscious competence. There, you're fully capable of, discussing on the subject, even teaching the subject, even getting to that part. And the fourth quadrant is when you go into unconscious competence, when you embody that knowledge, and when it comes with the statement, I don't even know what I know. I usually use example from professional athletes. Let's say, I don't know, martial arts. If you watch boxing, kickboxing, or MMA, they make a certain freaking move, and when you ask them, like, how did you even do that? They say, I don't know, I just did it. So it's practiced so long, it's getting to the point they embody it, that with their mind and body, they just go automatically, right? Most of the people get stuck into the third quadrant. I know what I know. And there, when unhealthy ego is being built up. So they become let's say, very well educated about a certain subject. They can talk, they can teach, and they believe that this is the thing, right? In order, like you said, to poke that holes and to open yourself up for growth is consciously to bring yourself to the first quadrant, which is I don't know what I don't know. When you approach every subject, every conversation, every situation from the place of I don't know what I don't know, there is no place for judgment, there is no place for blocks, there is only place for growth, because sooner or later you will figure it out that there are some things that you really don't know. And when you become aware of what you don't know again, you're going to the second quadrant. Now I know what I don't know. Then again you go, you learn about it. Then you embody it, and that becomes a growth circle. But it's not really often understood or even well known for the people. And that type of I call it like ego. They will keep us like, this is the way, my way or the highway. Well, there is impossible for you to know everything that is to be known on a given subject. It's impossible to absolutely.
Yeah, I found that most people I've met, and not to make like a sweeping judgment on other people, but the most people I've met who live by my way or the highway don't seem very happy. There seems to be some level of blind spot that they're not seeing. So I fully agree with you on that. Before we go any further, Bogdan, let's actually formally introduce you. Because I remember the first time we met, you said something along the lines of, what I do is I recode the human mind. And I was like, that sounds so badass. Like, I don't know if that's like hypno or subconscious work or like some special blend, but do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and your story? I know that you've had a crazy background and have achieved a lot of cool things, but also hit rock bottom, which is what helped you go from really good at sales to like 100x what you possibly thought was possible at the time, right? So I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Yeah, sure. So what I do is, you know how many entrepreneurs, high achievers, high performers, or anything else, they work hard, they put a lot of effort, they study hard, they come to the point and they reach a certain ceiling that it's kind of very challenging to break that ceiling and to go to the next level. And like some invisible forces are pulling them down. They have all the knowledge, they've read all the books, and they've done everything possible, but things seem like they never move. Right? And then they started self-development. They started going to therapy, they started like mindset work, they started screaming in cold showers and cold plunges, standing on nails, healing inner child and all of that part, but nothing really changes, right? So what I do is I help those people to actually not only recode, delete the unnecessary noise, delete all that negative emotional residue, that old beliefs that are not them anymore, so they can break through the ceilings that are self-created anyway, right? Now, how did this started is because I was one of those. If we are speaking about data, and comparing with many other people around the world, I would say to a certain point of life, I was having like a pretty successful life, right? So first I was professional athlete. I was competing for the Macedonian national karate team for 15 years, like the captain of the national karate team. I've been more than 15 times national karate champion, 4-time Balkan champion, once European champion. And to be first in Europe, it's not a small thing, right? And I've reached highest, unfortunately, to the 4th place on the World Championship, but I still keep on the, how do you call it? I even know how to say it in English. I'm still among the 80 most successful karatekas at all time since karate started as a sport.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate in English terms.
Yes, probably. So, so from there, my first, you know how it is. I grew up in Macedonia. Macedonia was not really opportunity place and anything else. I learned to work from a very young age. I started working since I was 13, peeling potatoes and then waiting in cafe bars and all of that part, working as a bouncer in the nightclubs. And my first job was I was working as a journalist, and as a journalist I started working what sells the most, blood. So I was in the crime and crime beat, consistently around that part. There was a moment where I felt that there is something that I don't resonate anymore in my country. So I just call a friend, not a friend, actually a cousin of mine, that he was working in a nightclub in Dubai. And I was like, can I come and work there? And he was like, yeah, man, there is a job for you. And you will be a runner or a busser, which is called in most of the world. What is that? It's just assisting the waiter and cleaning tables, cleaning ashtrays, the labor work in a nightclub. Cool. I went there. In 4 months, I jumped 5 positions. I was promoted to, let's say, the floor manager. And in 3 years and 2 months, something like that, I was already the general manager of the place. A year after that, I became the operations manager of one of the biggest hospitality companies in Dubai, right? So like one of the top men. After that, I was like the acting CEO. So I was having 700 employees and having all of that stuff. So for so many people who said, oh, this guy is doing well. And I thought I was doing well, right? I thought I was doing well. The ego was there. I reached there. I'm the guy. I outwork everyone. I can do absolutely everything that is necessary. Blah, 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 blah.
Really quickly, how old were you? And I assume this was after your karate career, right?
Yeah, so I was still competing while I was in Dubai for 1 or 2 years. But then I stopped because I didn't have the opportunity to train. There were no clubs that were really karate oriented in Dubai in that moment. There were, but some of them, they were like 2 hours, 2.5 hours drive from the place where I was living. It was physically impossible for me to be a professional in sport anymore. So I kind of gave up and I focused on career, right? And that was 2009. Like when I came in Dubai, and already in 2013, I was running a company with 700 employees when it comes to that point. So That's the interesting part. But even though I was living in a very nice apartment, I was driving my dream car, I was feeling empty. When I say empty, it was like it was never enough. I couldn't find the pleasure in my day-to-day, which really affected that 1 year of mine that I was trying to escape. So I was like drinking every weekend, getting drunk like fuck consistently, escaping certain things, another relationship, really terrible relationship that were self-initiated from my side. I'm not blaming absolutely anyone because I was not a pleasant person to be around. I was consistently stressed, constantly worrying about things that now when I look back, I was like, I have been a fucking fool. All the time kind of abandoning myself for the purpose of something that we are conditioned to call success, and that's the financial part. Abandon the health, abandon human connections, and living in a day-to-day in anger, in fears. Then there will be a moment I get drunk the next day, it's like anxiety over the roof, feeling, crying, closing myself in. Like it was terrible, but I was still wearing a mask. The moment when I go to work, I was still going to be the brave one. I'm going to still put the shift 12 hours, 13 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours if it needs to. I was still going to get the job done, but it was wearing a very heavy mask. That was the mask that I learned from my environment back home, because we were taught that men shouldn't show a weakness. That if a man talks about that they are angry or they are afraid of a certain challenge, means they are weak. So that was my learning, my conditioning that I identified myself with in that particular moment. And I remember one day I was there in my office and preparing for the shift and having my coffee and all of that. I kind of saw blur, and I woke up in a hospital. In a hospital, when I woke up, I was like 31, 32, something like that. I was like, what am I doing here? And I noticed I cannot even talk properly. I took the phone and I looked at myself. My left side was going like this. My left arm, my left leg are not really operating properly. The neurologist came. He was like, dude, you had a stroke. And I was like, how can I fucking have a stroke when I am a healthy man? All of that. I was like, well, yeah, you may be healthy in your body, but that brain of yours probably has a certain causes or something that you're going through that is being affected. That was a wake-up call, right? That was a wake-up call. Still, there was that part of me like, I'm going to push through. I literally discharged myself from the hospital after 4 days, even though I needed to stay there for observation for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something else. I signed the consent, I left and all of that. And this was the moment. I had one of my employees that she became a very, very good friend of mine in that moment. And she was like, she came to me and she was like, can I have 10 days off? And I was like, yeah, there's no problem. You can have 10 days unpaid leave. Would you tell me what's the reason so I can put in the report and, I can have my data. She was like, I'm going to go on some specific training. I will be learning about NLP in that moment, right? And I was like, okay, what is that? Here is the learning process. It's like, that's neuro-linguistic programming, you go. I was like, this is fucking shit. What are you talking about? I was like, okay, cool. She went, after 10 days, she came, and me happy to see her, going back because it was a crucial part of my team. And she came and she just handed me over the resignation letter. And I was like, what happens? She was like, I'm not doing this nightlife job anymore. I'm tired of this shit. Like, I have my own path to go on everything. And I was like, what happened? It was like, this training that I went through, like, it helped me to realize where I have been blocking myself. And I took that with a pinch of salt, obviously. I took it in the back of my mind. In the next 4 or 5 months, I was still working, but I was still having that feelings. And I was like, I don't want to go in hospital anymore. And I gave her a call. I was like, when are those trainings happening? And she was like, it is happening probably once a year or something. I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. She gave me a contact of the assistant of the trainer and everything. I know that I paid up front and just I waited for a while and I went to the training. So here is the thing. Look how strong the mask was. In the training room, there were around, I don't know, 30, 40 people, not more, something like that. And in the first day, you introduce yourself and you say why you're here, right? And when it came the moment for me to say why I am here, I said like, I'm here because I came to learn to communicate better so I can become a better leader. You know, for my team, and which it was partially true, but it was not true. But that was, for me, it was, I cannot show weakness. I cannot say that I'm going through all of that part, right? Oh my goodness. That was the best decision that I ever done in my life, because on that 10 days training, we were there like 10, 12 hours a day. I realized how fucked am I, how my conditioning, how my learnings, how my value system, how my belief system is misaligned with my new standards, with my new goals, with my new thing, does not work anymore. And then when everything started, when I really got into the part of, okay, let me learn this, then I become a master NLP coach, then a master NLP trainer. I was like, what next? Then I got into, hypnosis. Let me learn about this. Came to the master hypnosis. I was like, what next? And it becomes like learning from one. You see, now I started from, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And consistently, I was stacking knowledge, skills, and everything, and going through that journey, rediscovering different parts of myself. And literally travel the world to learn new things that can help me, then they become part of what I'm doing right now that helps other people. And when some people say like, okay, but Bogdan, like, what is your method, the Be Relentless method, where it comes from? And I will say like, it's a blend, it's a fusion from NLP, hypnosis, quantum recoding, inner conflict resolution, or it is integration, parts of our self-integration, cognitive behavior science, and many different ancient ways, like probably there are like 22, 23 different modalities, all in one that I have learned them deeply and practiced, all and then in one, created one system that really targets that type of problem, discover the problem, delete the problem, install a new part. So when you come to me, you're the last person that you need to go to when it comes to self-development, to be fully equipped and rewired. So you don't need to be going and screaming every week in a forest trying to heal your inner child.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, that's so interesting, because I remember when I first saw your page after the retreat we were both on, there was a part of me I could hear that was like, there's no way it's that simple. Like, no, like that sounds too good to be true. And the more I've kind of like, obviously since July when we met, I've done the work on myself and consume more of your content. I want to, I've come more around to the idea of, why can't it be that simple? Or like, why can't it shorten the timeline for what we think something needs to take from years to days, weeks?
But it's a misconception. That's another all outdated belief system. Maybe because some people, they don't know, that they haven't been exposed to it, but also their own skepticism. And I don't want you to trust me blindly. In my world, skeptics are very welcomed. Why? Because skeptics usually ask the best questions so they can learn what actually it is possible. And I always say this. Let's suppose you have had a certain past traumatic experience that affects your life. And we call it a trauma, right? But it's actually emotional traumatic experience. Why is this reflecting in our mind now? Because we do have a memory about a certain situation that happened in the past with negative emotional charge, very strong at this moment, negative emotional charge. In that moment, it was very painful for us, and it was really hard to overcome that. But think of this logically. How long it took that trauma to be created? A moment, a second. In that experience, in that situation, whatever happened, and you got affected, your nervous system created that type of, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, you name it, whatever was there, and it get engraved, right, in your nervous system. So if it takes a part of a second, a moment, to create that trauma, what makes us think that it cannot be reversed the same way? It's a kind of now out of logic, right?
That's a great question, yeah.
What makes you think that it cannot be reversed? Now, because some people didn't know, or they didn't want to know on purpose because they want to treat you like a monthly recurring revenue consistently, so you'll keep on coming back. That's not really going to be a healers, that is going to be therapies, is going to be, call them whatever you want, gurus. They wanted you to come back to consistently heal. But look at this. This is the funny part. It's very strong topic. Healing. I'm going healing. I'm going healing. I'm going healing. I'm going healing. And they are healing in the last 25 years. And you go, yeah, I'm consistently healing. Even the word I'm healing, right? I need to heal. I need to heal. What does it presupposes?
That you need fixing, that you need to be fixed.
That something is wrong, that you are sick, that something, so it needs to be fixed. And in my world, I know that you are not broken. I know that you don't need fixing. Because when you came in this world, you were a perfect blueprint for perfect health. You just learned, and that experience, traumatic experience, is just a learning. So you don't need a freaking fixing. You need to delete the outdated code, that type of moment, delete that emotional charge from that type of thing. And even the memory, many times it can dissipate, or it stays just a memory, like a learning that will going to guide us to live a better life and more enriched life. So yeah, it sounds too good to be true, but that statement for many people is what keeps them stuck. That's already third quadrant of learning. I know what I know. This is too good to be true. I will keep on going, paying someone for the next 25 years to delete to get rid of a phobia. I will going to keep on crying on someone's shoulders every day. Even that type of, I have a very different way of seeing this work because I know it freaking works. Let's suppose the most typical practices that someone in self-development will going to do. Start with journaling. Great thing, right? But what the fuck are you journaling about?
Like me personally or other people?
No, not about other people, right?
I know, yeah.
Because if you journal every single day and telling, I felt like shit today, I felt disrespected, and all that, what are you doing? You're consistently reinforcing the same thought, you're reliving the same emotion, and you're consistently cementing, anchoring that belief, that way of thought pattern, and you're keeping it within you. Even though at that moment feels like venting, it's not fucking venting, it's reinforcing the whole shit. Now, if you journal, focus on few things only. First thing, if you journal in the morning, let's say, journal in the morning, what are you grateful for today? Because you cannot be angry, sad, and grateful at the same time. What are you grateful for today? Put 3 sentences, not more. What have to happen to make this perfect day? Right? And third, affirmations, but affirmations that are aligned with your belief system. Not affirmations, I am a millionaire, and your unconscious mind said like, no, you're not worthy for that. Because that's a fucking waste of time. Or to say, I'm having a 6-pack, and your belief system said like, you're never going to be loved. Right? That needs to be alignment. But something that is aligned, that all I need is within me now, or all is well, or I can overcome every obstacle. That's healthy way of affirming things. And write that down in a little small paper. When you finish the day, before going to sleep, get a point. It was like highlights of the day. So you're focusing on the wins. You don't focus on how on the bad thing. Highlights of the day and what did I learn today? You see, that way of journaling is consistently growth oriented. If you continue journaling your shitty days, you're gonna see more shitty days. I guarantee you that part. So that's one of the things. Another thing is those freaking affirmations, right? They are waking up in 5 a.m. in the morning, they're lighting a candle, someone told them there, and they will sit in front of the mirror and they will scream. And they will scream like, I am a millionaire. Okay, cool. And it feels good, right? And they're doing it for 25 years. Why you're not millionaire yet? Why are you doing that? There is no, because you're pumping juice through your body and it works until you do it. The moment when you step away from the window, you go back to the same loop, you go back to the same patterns of thinking and the same shitting, because there is deeper beliefs that are not aligned with that what you're affirming right now in the moment. So we need to find those beliefs there that are maybe I'm not worthy, or maybe I'm not deserving, or maybe something that I had within me. It was the moment of that I learned probably from my father in the youngest age, that rich people are evil people, and the money is the father of all evil. So I had a very bad relationship with money at that moment. So I could shout I'm a millionaire, but my unconscious mind just points out and creates like, no, you're fucking not, and that's a bad thing to be. And that's why I was reaching a certain limits. That's why I was being in a position where, like, the moment when I pass a threshold of my highest income, like something is pulling me back. Go and spend that money, go self-sabotage yourself. I start, in one moment I get sick, I get a flu. I'm not going to work these 2 weeks, or, like procrastinating until I come to the point of, oh, danger, 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 danger. So you're getting poor, and then again I found the motivation for it, and it's consistently 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards. It's okay for a while, but it's not sustainable, and it hurts the body, hurts the health, hurts the mind, and it's definitely not progressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so much in there that I want to touch on. I'll ask you this: what's the difference between like healthy expression? Because obviously, I mean, maybe it's not correct. I don't know, but I've always kind of believed that whatever you don't admit just stays bottled up. So what's the difference between expressing what's going on and like actually relieving it, and continuing to get stuck or stay in that place and convincing yourself this is a healthy release of emotions?
Healthy. So here is the thing. Recognizing that you feel that emotion, awareness is first, and then recognizing that if it's a negative emotion is just a feedback mechanism for the quality of your thinking. It's just a feedback mechanism for the quality of your thinking, and it's there to protect you. It's not your enemy, because if you pinch your skin now, right, you start feeling pain straight away, right? Your unconscious mind, the brain, and everything connects and says, like, creates a pain, bodily sensation. To stop pinching says, like, hey, you will damage the skin. You will damage your health. The same is with our emotions. The moment when you feel angry or sad, and we have that tightness in the chest, that it's in our visceral area manifests as a certain bodily sensation, or rather uncomfortable when you see it. Your unconscious mind tells you, hey, ouch, this hurts. Stop thinking this way. So first recognizing that is there, and what I do have a very good habit of doing, when I get triggered about something, I get excited about it, because I was like, oh, thank you so much for pointing out what else is within me that I need to pay attention to, right? Then when you recognize that type of emotion that is going through your body, and you know deeply that is just your focus, your thinking, what are you focusing on at that particular moment, right? You can just shift the focus, because you are not experiencing life. You're experiencing the life you're focusing on. So the moment when you shift the focus straight away towards what you do want, not what you don't want, and take action towards what you do want consistently, you will get out immediately in that in a better state of mind. So not avoiding it, not suppressing it, not anything, recognizing it, honoring it, because it's there to teach you a lesson that there is a part of you that has to change, and then switch the focus and go towards that part, right?
And is that basically how you delete the emotional pattern?
No.
I mean, you don't have to go too into detail, but when you say delete, like, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that.
So let me give you, when I say delete, how to explain without spending another 3 days to explain how.
Yeah, exactly.
How does this work? Let's think it this way. Emotion is just a chemical reaction, just a chemical running through our body. Our hypothalamus releases certain chemicals, enzymes, peptides, proteins, whatever it is, and then we feel it in our body. If it's a negative emotion, it's a painful. If it's a positive emotion, it's a joyful, right? But it's not about the emotion itself, it's about how do we create that emotion. And we know that emotion really comes from our thinking, or more precisely said, it comes from the meaning making on our thoughts, on our thinking. So thoughts in general are neutral, they're meaningless, but we are the meaning makers and we can give it a meaning on that. And what is the meaning making process? It's literally filtering data, deleting, distorting and generalizing that is directly correlated from our conditioning, from our learning. What is wrong, what is right, what is black, what is white, what is good, what is bad. It's coming from that part. So that's a process. It's a strategy how we create that emotion. But bear in mind, people need to be aware. I cannot get you angry. You get angry. Anger is not a thing. I cannot get you sad. You get sad. You create sadness based on what your meaning-making process. If in your meaning-making this situation is sad, right, you will experience sadness. Let's give it a very blunt example here. You know that in some cultures, most of the cultures around the world, when we lose a loved ones, when they pass away, we're getting into a grief and we're being sad, and it takes a time until we overcome that. Some people never overcome that. Some people overcome it, really depends on the person to person. And in our belief system is when someone goes away, you should be sad. You're missing them. But there is other cultures and other countries around the world that they literally celebrate death. When someone passes away, on their funeral, they're taking pictures, they're celebrating that, because in their belief system is that the person that just passed away, he just departed to a better place, to a place where they came from. They call it source, they call it creator. So that person experienced whatever had to be experienced in this physical body and then departed where it is. So they actually have a positive experience from that. So who is wrong and who is right? So why I'm saying this is just emotion comes, it's our own self-created story that we are telling ourselves. To delete that emotion is we need to change that neural pathway. So instead of going from a memory, situation, thought towards anger, to interrupt the process, to interrupt that pattern in a way where it creates a massive confusion within your brain, within your mind. And what comes after confusion?
I don't know.
Clarity. After confusion comes clarity. So to create a massive confusion, and that massive confusion gets the brain to think on a quantum level, massive, fast process, and literally grows a new brain cell. And that way, that brain cell, that new neurological connection is being used for that thought to pass through. So instead of leading towards sadness, it can lead towards something that is not painful, whatever it is, maybe peace, understanding, joy, whatever. Hence why maybe you've seen some of my videos. Some of the people, they don't even they even forget what the problem was.
Yeah, that's the most mind-blowing part of watching it, because you ask them and they're like, the last one I saw, the guy said it was like it was behind an opaque glass where he couldn't see the emotion, and that the idea of forgetting this major trigger or just not being able to like locate it is incredible.
That's the whole thing, because memory with negative emotion, and then when you remove the negative emotion out of it, it just stays as a memory. And which memories do we remember the most? The memories with a strong emotional charge, right? Many of them are bad because usually they more evident, and people remember terrible things, and then also they remember the birth of their first child, their wedding, those beautiful memories, because those were strong emotions in that moment, and they remember it like it was yesterday, right? Now, for the good emotions, keep those parts, keep it up. But for some other thing that happened in the past, you have no control over the past, but you have control over your way of thinking, therefore your feeling. Why not freeing yourself from that type of shit? Why carrying it with you?
No, that's great. That's a really good explanation, because I even think about it too, like if somebody ever, a public figure who's controversial dies, you have a bunch of group of people who say, fuck that piece of shit, I don't feel bad, and another group of people go, no, he was great, and it really comes down to the meaning that you give the situation of what this person's life meant. Like I love the example that you gave.
Yeah, it's all meaning. I mean, another example. If me and you, we are friends, best friends, and we know each other since childhood, and we go in a fine dining restaurant here in Dubai, right? And you sit down in the restaurant, and we are here looking in the menu, and I go around and I fart in a restaurant. You probably have this type of reaction, right? Because now you're creating the story in your mind, like we're best friends, and like you fucker, you always make me laugh. So you experience a positive emotion. This guy is crazy. It's always fun night with him. But the person next to me probably will be like, you fucking idiot. This is a restaurant. You don't do this type of thing. You should be kicked out. He's experiencing negative emotions. So he sees me like a monster, and you see me like someone that can make your day. It's the same situation, isn't it? But two different experiences created in their own head. It's a meaning of it. That's why the boss will going to speak at the same time to two different employees, and one employee will get offended and leave like completely angry or anything else, want to quit, and the other employees have like, oh, that was a constructive criticism that I can learn from. This guy really cares about my progress. It's the same speech, but they took it differently, in a different way.
I remember when I was less aware of how my mind was working. This is a couple of years ago now. I was talking to my friend. It was about a relationship I was in at the time, and it was not this person's fault. I was consciously choosing these relationships. I didn't realize it at the time, but I remember telling him like, I don't think that she recognized like I've changed so much. I've done so well. I've made all these positive actions and done so much better since we met and started dating, and like she's just not recognizing it. And he's like, well, do you recognize it? And I was like, no. He's like, okay. He's like, then why would anybody else recognize something you're not even willing to give attention to? Like, you're just going to keep selecting situations that focus on the thing you're really focusing on. So if you think you're a piece of shit, like, you're going to attract people who think you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, and that's going to be your experience. But look what is even more interesting in the same situation that you said. You say, let's say, you say like, oh, she's not recognizing, she's not appreciating my growth, right? But you forget that she has her own model of the world, and her own deleting, distorting, and this that is allowing her to experience what is it, and you have no control over it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing that you have control over that is how do you feel and what do you think about her towards yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
And the moment you say like, okay, she's coming from her model of the world or something else, it's not on purpose, it doesn't mean that I am a piece of shit, right, in this here, the whole relationship changes. Because that's why Wayne Dyer always said that when you change the way how you look at things, the things you look at change. And it comes to, from that point, there is no people outside of us. There is literally, you're incapable of experiencing the world outside of you directly. You're only capable of experiencing your thinking about the world outside of you. So you don't see other people, you see the other people through your own lenses. If you stand now and give a speech in front of 1,000 people, you will exist in 1,000 different shapes and forms in their own heads. Which brings us to the point of who gives a fuck what other people think of you? Right? Who cares about what other people think of you? Because there is nothing about you there. It's about how do they create their own meaning of you.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny you say that because when I was in high school, there was a speech competition at the high school I was at, and there are three. It was grade 9s, 10, and 11s could participate, and I made the final every year. I won 2 out of 3, which is like very good. And every time I won, the person handing me the award didn't shake my hand, shoved the award in my hands, and turned around and walked away pissed. Even though I won, the student body laughed. People came up to me and said how amazing the speech was, and I had teachers tell me, that was really disrespectful what you said, you shouldn't have won. And yeah, it was just the meaning that they gave of... the last one was because I said the word asshole in my speech, and they were like, somebody's grandma's there, she was there to watch her son, and to hear that filthy word, I was like, I think she's heard it before.
Yeah. But in her mind, using the word asshole in this type of settings means wrong and comes from their belief system and value system, right?
Exactly.
And you know, it's not hers, it's something that she learned and adopted from previously. So instead of, you know, even looking at her like someone that is being disrespectful to you, she's running outdated code. So you'll free yourself from the judgment place, right? But I'm telling you, if she got angry, she lost because she lost the opportunity to experience the moment in the best way. You see, some people awarded you, they appreciate, they gave a very good positive meaning for your speech and whatever was there, and some people didn't. It was not about you. It was always about how they see that situation in their own head.
Interesting. So, I mean, this kind of paints the picture of why you always say, at least from what I see in your social media, that it's not the business, it's the person running the business.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to grow the business, sure, you could look at all these shiny new objects and strategies and funnels and ad scripts, but at the end of the day, it always comes down to, like, the buck starts and stops with yourself and how you see things. So what are the most common themes you see from entrepreneurs who keep hitting that glass ceiling?
I mean, there is many. We can take it from many different angles, right? When it comes to, let's say, like I always said, it's very common with entrepreneurs. They will reach a certain ceiling, you know, so they are making like, I don't know, 50K a month, 100K a month, 200K a month. They have reached that ceiling, and kind of it's hard for them to break through that ceiling. So usually what they do is they start focusing on their strategies, they start hiring, firing people, but nothing really ever changes when it comes to strategy-wise. Then they start procrastinating. They're not doing what needs to be done. They're not delegating to the right people. They want to do it everything themselves. It's all safety mechanism, right? It's all belief system, because that next level, it's kind of unknown. And when it's unknown, it's scary. So it initiates a certain fear. So they become over controlling, or when it comes to the point of, I need to do this all myself, then they burn out, right? And that's very often in entrepreneurs. Burnout, procrastination, anxiety, worries about what if this goes wrong, what if this goes wrong, what if this goes wrong. And they have no possibility of knowing if that's going to go wrong or right. I had a client of mine, it's a 7-figure entrepreneur, and he was starting a new project. And the new project, it was involving like big events. On that events were like 150 people to 200 people on that type of event. And because of his price point and absolutely everything else, he decided in his own head that he cannot run ads about it. You know, that ads are not going to work. Based on his previous experiences, based on his different things, that ads are not going to work. And it was fear. So I cannot give a little bit of details because it's kind of that. There was a certain fears that connected directly to his adopted identity there part. The moment when he deleted, he launched the ads. So at that moment, he was $40,000 in minus, right? $40,000 in minus. The moment when he deleted that fear, and he sit down and he really focused on what's next, right? He wrote the copies, he launched the ads. In a week, he was $20,000 in plus. So he already bypassed that. And he sold out his event. And it was one small little problem, one small little blockage. So he had the knowledge, he had all the data, he had all the strategy, but he was not executing them simply because of what if this doesn't work. And then, when you work with me, I go deep layers, background to find what is the root cause of the presenting problem. Not the branches that are coming out of that root, but that root, the mothership of those set of beliefs that are not serving your purpose, so we can get them out of the way. And then resourcefulness kicks in, creativity kicks in, intuition kicks in, inspiration kicks in, motivation kicks in, and you start doing the things, right?
Yeah, I remember I was working when I had my agency. It's funny, everything you're talking about, I'm looking back at my own story. I'm like, yeah, that happened. And my ceiling was like about 20K a month American. I would get there and like, I'd get so close to hitting 30 and then deals would fall apart or things would happen. And then I just like crash and burn. But I remember this one client I was working with, very, very successful. And he gave me this idea that he wanted to run. And I was like, look, this is the first month he was hiring me. And I was so excited because I'd wanted to work with a client like this for a while. And in my mind, it legitimized me, which is also a paradigm that I realized was not serving my highest self. But he told me this idea. I was like, please don't do that. Like, this is a really bad idea. This is going to be really, really bad. It's going to tank the business. He's like, no, it's fine. It's great. It tanked the business really badly. And I could tell from him and I talking more and more and getting closer, he was addicted to like, okay, we're up here. Let's just make it hard and rip it back up. And he just like loved and I brought that to his attention. I was like, hey man, and like I say this lovingly because him and I grew to be good friends. And I was like, do you think you're addicted to the chase? And he was like, no. And I like explained the line of events and he goes, oh yeah, I probably am. I never thought of that before.
It happens very well. Like let's suppose if we're talking about in the context of career or in the context of business, and if we elicit the values, and values are the second strongest drivers where our motivation lies. And when it comes about revenue or money, the values of money, we need to be very careful to see what is the driver of taking action. Is it running away from pain or is it running towards pleasure? Majority of the people that are facing these problems like you mentioned right now in the moment, in their value system, unconsciously, they are running from the place I don't want to be poor, rather than I want to be rich. And it's a very big difference, because if you need to run from a place, if you need to get motivated to run from a place of being poor, what you will be looking consistently? You'll be looking proof that you are poor, so you can actually run away from that part and get motivated to get shit done. That's why so many people, they reach a certain level and then that's new and it's not motivating anymore, so they self-sabotage themselves consistently until to come a point of, oh, I'm going to get poor, I don't want to get poor, and then they'll get a motivation about that. But that's just like a swing. You go and you come back. You go, you never excel. Now, there is a way how to do that. We can literally reinstall that value of running away from to be running towards pleasure. And then, instead of you being a problem solver, you become solution finder. So you will continuously look forward. How can you experience even more revenue in the business that already does well? How can you experience, how can you get even better product from the product that you're already having? How can, instead of burning it all down and starting forever? There's many different ways. Like it's a really, we can talk about this for the next 2 weeks, and we can point out so many different patterns that I see, especially among entrepreneurs, and especially among those entrepreneurs that are between 50K and 200K a month. There is the biggest one. People that are making 500, $500,000 a month or more, I've noticed they have already figured it out, this part, or they have been through, or they have something have happened, so they have broken through that part and they have rewired their way of thinking, right? It's very rare someone to do it on itself, but it happens, right? Now, for some people take a longer time, for some people take a shorter time. But why waiting when that can be done literally 2-3 days? We literally delete everything that doesn't serve your purpose, install what serves your purpose, off you go, so you can live a more pleasurable life.
Yeah, no. What do you think your cycle was when you were moving up the ranks so quickly at the restaurant or at the lounge, and then you had your stroke? Was it that you didn't have any more levels to get higher then? After a while, when you were at the highest position, the feelings of stress came up?
No, man. Here was the thing. In my belief system, I had some big fear that the world is working against me.
Oh, yeah.
I was consistently progressing, but I would find in everyone around me, oh, this guy is trying to fuck me over. Trust level was zero on everything, Oh, and don't remember, there were 8 massive nightclubs, 3 restaurants, and 10 pubs at the same time that I needed to run. And that was 700 employees. Imagine to be seeing 700 people every single day in a certain day and to think that someone is going to stab you in the back. And then I was accepting responsibility that I should have delegated. I will take it because I don't trust. It was excruciating, And here was the point. When I started doing my work and I come to a point of, okay, cool, you know what I did? Thank you for this career, I'm leaving. I just left. I left a safe salary, I left a good, good benefits and absolutely, I just left without backup plan at all, and started remote sales. Why? Because then I started looking towards the life that I want to have, not I don't want to have. So it was like, I want to find something that I can work from home, that I can work anytime from anywhere that the fuck I want, and I don't want to have a boss over my freaking head. Kind of life brought me in remote sales. And so 2019 until 2024, as a remote sales guy, when I was a full-time selling, I collected over 50 million, generated 50 million in sales. I made nearly 5 million in commissions for myself, working under my conditions. No, I'm not saying that I didn't put effort or hours, but it was pleasurable. I enjoyed it because I knew that if it doesn't feel well, only my thinking is off. Change the focus and it goes away. And in 2024, when I started my business, until I built it up to 7 figures. Same principle, right? Now, I don't know what next we're going to come to make it to 10 figures, right? But that's why we are here, to actually learn, expand, grow, and get better and better. Because no one, absolutely no one in this world deserves to suffer or to live in that disempowering state consistently, no matter how much they pump their chest down like, I'm strong enough. Remove the mask.
Sorry, keep going.
Remove the mask. And when you remove the mask and you sit comfortably with your uncomfortable self, then is when real growth starts happening.
Yeah, no, it's, have you read Reality Transurfing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured from the stuff you talk about it would be aligned. If you had to recommend like a reading list to people, and then we'll sign off and you can tell people where to find you and then we'll debrief after the recording. What would your top reading list be?
I will tell you what book actually was the first book that I read that actually put me in this direction in self-development. And that's The Power of Intention from Dr. Wayne Dyer.
That's a great book.
The Power of Intention. Another book, 2 books that I'm going to recommend they are from Dr. David Hawkins. 2 of them, one is Letting Go and the second one, Force versus Power.
Also fantastic.
Force versus Power, if you survive the first 3 chapters and you don't give up, then you will get addicted to that type of thing. Another way what I would recommend for the people is get familiar a little bit more with Carl Jung, the father of modern psychology. Get familiar with his way of seeing the world. There is so many materials on YouTube from Jungian psychology and everything else. If you get some of his books, Now, I bear in mind, you will really need to have an open heart and open mind to start reading it if you're a beginner, because it may become pretty heavy. But if you are on the path already, start getting to that part so you can really understand the labeling, what they think about shadow, what shadow it is. It's just our unconscious programming that doesn't serve us a purpose anymore, right? But that's one of that's the route that I would take, you know. But this is because that's helped me a lot. Now there is a million other books that we can line up, but that was my first thing, especially Wayne Dyer, right? I remember I was driving to work and I was listening it as an audiobook. I'm more auditory guy. So I was listening to work and back from work every time, and until everything happens, when I finished the book already, I already quit the work. So yeah, it was consciously creating, but not in a woo-woo way that something will going to fall in our lap, but consciously creating the state of mind where we can be the most productive self.
Yeah, consciously choosing your energetic state is so powerful, and I think a lot of people don't know that, and that's great. That's why I have you on. One of the first books I read that introduced me to the idea of NLP was Unstoppable Confidence by Kent Sayer. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's free on YouTube. I'm sure it's still up there.
Yeah.
I just like listen to it like every day for like a whole month, just on repeat.
I will tell you something for those people that are interested in NLP, right? Don't waste your time reading books. You're not going to learn a shit. You know, it's good as a supplemental material to have it. You know, get from Richard Bandler and John Grinder, you know, all the founders of the NLP. But if you really want to learn something, get yourself into a training. There is NLP institutes around the world, everywhere. Get into a proper training so you can learn it, right? I have so many people or clients that come to me, I'm very big in NLP, and I'm like, oh yeah, if you are, why are you here? Like, why are you here? So put the mask off. Let's pretend that you don't know what you don't know, and let's get to the point where we can make you efficient, right? I mean, Tony Robbins, all his work is based on NLP, right? All his work, everything he have built up on the principles of NLP, but he mastered NLP first, right? Now you can add many different modalities. Get to one, focus on that, get rid, but pay for a proper training. You know, get to a trainer to certify you, not because of the shitty certificate, but because of the process that you will need to go through to learn, implement on you, you implement on others, you learn how to do that, and you understand that NLP is not just a slate of mouth that you can use to manipulate people. BS.
Okay, sweet. Bogdan, this was great. And I'll debrief after we're done recording before we hang up, but can you tell people where to find you?
Probably the best way is Instagram, right? You can find me like MICOV BOGDAN, Micov Bogdan. Get me there. I'm the most active nowadays there. And just follow and just immerse yourself in the materials. Something very interesting is coming very soon.
Yeah, no, it's incredible content for anybody watching. I highly recommend. Bogdan, thank you so much. This is awesome, and I'll let you know when this is released. If you're watching this, it's been released, and we'll go from there.
Pleasure, brother. It was a pleasure being here.
Okay, sweet. Thanks.